Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed.
Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the Genreverse Podcast Network for the Cantina. Today's our wrap up of Obi-Wan Kenobi, something I'm sure we're going to still be talking about for weeks, if not months to come. But we are, of course, at lrmonline.com. Go there every day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. Subscribe to the Genreverse YouTube channel, Genreverse Podcast Network on YouTube. Lots of great things there, and then of course all of our podcasts are wherever you get podcasts from. So if you're listening on your favorite app, make sure you follow us there. And sponsored by the good folks over at Grow Generation. More about them a little bit later in the episode. I'm Kyle Malone, joined as usual by Cam Clark, and thankfully we've got the full crew today because Shockey's here.
Yes, gotta be here for the finale.
For the finale. So The whole theme of this for me has been, is it worth everything worth what we get at the end of this? Is the juice worth the squeeze, as what's his name said in Girl Next Door? That was a fun movie back in the day. And without spoilers, kind of, tell me, was everything worth this series? And we'll start with Mike.
Ooh, okay, so was everything worth this series? I mean,
like the show, the everything that we got, the things that the ups and downs, were they worth the end result?
I think so. I mean, is it the story that everyone was hoping for, or is it like, I think that some of the challenges that this story was going to have was that you had years upon years of people speculating, theorizing, stories being written, canon, not canon, and, legends and stuff that of people, theorizing what Kenobi was doing, during the time between leaving Luke on Tatooine and then meeting back up with Luke as an older, boy and stuff. And then, there's definitely going to be plot holes. There's definitely things that, things that were said 30, 40 years ago that you try to honor and you try to keep in the same token, of being all connected togetherness. But it's a challenging task. But overall, I think so. Anytime I get Star Wars, that you get, Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Hayden Christensen is as small as I'm really shocked as small as a part as he had in this role.
Yeah.
How little he was shown. But I think so. It gives us a little bit more details on, the time period of, the Empire. It gives us, an opportunity to see Vader again, which is always good for me. Was it the story I was thinking in my head? No, but I took it as is and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I think it was worth it.
What do you think, Cam? All the ups, downs, the story, the canon elements.
Just
Right.
just gets over the line for me, because I think that there was a lot of risks involved, and what I always said is, for it to be worth that risk, it had to be really, really good. And I don't think it was really, really good, but it was just good enough and didn't break the canon just enough that it got by for me. And it's something that I could watch again, despite its flaws. And I think with a little bit more time and attention to certain elements, it
had a lot of time.
What is frustrating is that it could have been really, really good, and it doesn't quite get there for me, despite having some great moments, and there were some great moments in this episode.
Yeah. That to me is, I've often said I'd almost rather be disappointed, or I'd rather be mad, like it was just complete garbage, than to be disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would very often rather something just bomb completely than to have a bunch of ups and downs and see the potential sequel trilogy and it just be, you know, disappointing. And this really overall to me was disappointing. Like, I have to go back and reevaluate everything now, given that the story is now complete and different writing issues that we touched on in previous episodes now make things look even worse. This episode, by far the best thing that we've seen from it, but at the end of the day, man, they really pushed a lot of canon boundaries, breaking them in some people's opinions, including mine. Others just believe that it's, you know, really tight bend. But at the end of the day, I think there's elements of this show that you could have put in other shows. Leia, you know, we've talked about Agent Leia for like an Andor or even her own thing, but Vader and the Inquisitors, you could definitely do some Jedi hunting stories and shows, and Obi-Wan. I mean, we see the tease, you know, at the end for potential things in the future, and that's a story that, you know, we'll talk about when we get to spoilers about where that could go. But at the end of the day, when they try to put all of those into the same thing, it didn't work. It didn't work. And to me, no, I could watch the last episode or, you know, snippets from other episodes, but I don't think I'll ever watch this entire thing again. It's going to go the way of the prequels and sequels for me. I just didn't feel.
You'll change your mind after a while and watch it again as one complete. Because I think one of the things with this show is that it almost feels like you should watch it as one big 6 hour. So it wouldn't even be 6 hours, is it? Maybe about 5 hour movie. It kind of really feels like that more than most of these streaming shows do. And I think apart from,
because it used to be a movie.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly a lot
drastically
different.
A
lot of what the good elements of this are seem to be the stuff that was added in, though. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. I think that, if you're watching it as a full thing, I think there's one or two moments that will still stand out and annoy me, but some of the other smaller things maybe wouldn't have caught my attention quite as much when I'm watching the full spectacle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I know it's hard to necessarily define that, but, you know.
No, I get it. And, you know, with that, why don't we go ahead and Cam, and we'll start with you, an episode grade, and then we'll grade the series, and then we'll get into our spoilers and stuff. So what you got, Cam?
Oh, sorry.
Episode grade?
Grade. So
for the episode,
I gave the episode an A-, and I think that's indicative of it being the finale. You know, I think as an individual episode, maybe you could say it was more than that, but because it is the finale of the series, I think, you know, some of the issues I'd had elsewhere kind of catch up with it at this point for me. So that's why I went A-, and I went for the full series. Now reviewing the whole overall thing, I've went for a B+ for the whole series. So that's not really an accurate aggregate of the kind of scores I've given for the episodes up to date, but that's just looking at the whole thing together.
I can see that. Shockey, what do you got for the episode, man?
I'll give it an A- as well. I felt like it was a good wrap up to the series. I feel like that there were some things that I think they could have taken more risks on. They didn't know. I think it, you know, pretty much it's been safe of a series. In the aspect of it being Disney and wanting to, you know, not go too dark and stuff, but and so overall, I was, you know, anytime you get lightsaber duels and stuff, I'm into it and stuff, and some of the use of the Force was pretty impressive and everything, and so A- for me.
And what about the series as a whole?
Series as a whole, so I'm conflicted on it because I, without giving too much information, I know that there's a lot more that was left out.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, so the series has gone through multiple different iterations and rewrites and stuff. And pretty much the story that I was told is the core of it was there. There were some things though that they left off that I thought, man, like it would have, I don't know if it would have been, it would have boosted this series up, but I think it would have been like a good, like just a nod back to some of the prequel stuff, a nod to some of the original trilogy stuff, but also to some of the darker things that they originally had in this series. I think Disney has gone a little too soft but yeah, I think they there's an opportunity to take risks, and they didn't. And I hope that there's a novelization of this, and I hope that the story that I read, and I know is in the novelization, because I think it would give some more, I think adults would appreciate it more. I think it's like kind of the darker series, darker version of Kenobi or something like that, but yeah, series wise, I enjoyed it. I will go back and watch it from beginning to end now, like kind of like what AMC's doing. What is it, today or tomorrow? They're doing the whole series or whatever, showing it at one time and stuff. Once I have a day where I have a couple hours, I'm going to sit down and watch it from beginning to end and see how that works out. Because the one thing I will criticize Disney Plus on is this whole episodic thing every week. I get it, from a marketing standpoint, keeping your subscribers, but it doesn't work that way. So you got to film it. You just need to binge watch. Some things you need to.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, that one of the options I wish they would give you, especially for this show, is the ability to actually cut out all the credits and just watch it. Especially when it's one director, where it's it's one crew that's filmed this entire series. So you've got the same really. Credits at the very end. They could just update the credits to include everyone from the whole series at the end, so that everybody gets there, and just give us an edit of the.
Correct.
That would really be appreciated, and it would make me go back and definitely kind of watch it that way, just to see how it plays for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, you're not going to get. We may get a season 2 out of this with Kenobi.
I think we will.
A Force Ghost. It's open for it. But yeah, if this was truly a one shot, in a limited series, special event, then just have it as one, gigantic episode, or just binge watch it as one. Because I think that's what makes Stranger Things so good, is that you can binge watch it. If I had to wait every week for an episode of Stranger Things, I would still enjoy it. But sitting there and going from, knocking out 2 to 3 episodes at a time, and then, come back to it.
The problem is the data that they're going on in terms of how to market these shows, and just doesn't support that. The more successful shows are the weekly ones, and they've got.
And I think with Mandalorian,
Obi-Wan for 6 weeks instead of 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think for Mando and all the other, the Marvel shows, yes. I think this one though should have been released all as one.
I agree.
So what do you give the series grade? Shockey.
Series, B. Just I was gonna say B+, but B.
Okay. Well, for the episode, like I said, after everything landed, I kind of reevaluated, and the first and this episode are probably the best, and I'd give them both just B pluses. Everything else really, almost everything else really starts dragging down the score. There's a couple other B's in there, but I appreciated the majority of the lightsaber duel. It was actually a pretty decent one. A couple things I'll nitpick at, but overall, well. And the stuff on the farmhouse was cool for the most part. So B+. And for a series with all of the writing issues, with all the and not just plot holes, I mean just straight illogical bad writing, episode 3, it's a C-. it's not good at all for me. Really disappointing. So yeah, it's the definition of mid these days. So that's the grades, guys, and please let us know what you would grade it down below. And for now, we're gonna take a quick word from our sponsors, come back and get into some spoiler territory.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. Grow Generation offers the best deals and discounts on the best grow products on the market. Grow Generation serves customers across the nation and carries a wide inventory of renowned cultivation brands. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
And I managed to not cut it off early. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the episode. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out Grow Generation in the link down below. So spoilers. Everything's open. I don't start too often, so I'll go ahead and mention a couple of things about the lightsaber duel. I guess we'll just start with the duel. We can branch out from there. One, they managed to make it look pretty epic. I love the use of force abilities during it. It's not just lightsabers. Whenever the blue is by itself, it's still very intense in this show versus like the whenever Rey's got the Skywalker blade. But you know, that's editing, whatever. The only thing that I caught as soon as it happened, and it was a little bit of annoyance, but they kept it toned down, was Vader spinning. Like, oh my God, he's Vader in the suit. He doesn't need to fucking spin. But I was glad that it's only right there towards the beginning of it. It's a couple times they put them back to back again. Oh, remember this, remember that, and it's fine overall. The only thing I really don't like is the way it wraps up. I was wondering, you know, how do they separate them? How do they break the fight up? And Obi-Wan saying, okay, I'm absolved. You killed Anakin. I'm just going to walk away. And Vader to just let that happen. I don't know. I felt I needed like the Grand Inquisitor to step in with like a TIE bombing raid to distract them or something like that. Or I'm not saying that specifically. I just don't see Obi-Wan leaving him again. You know, and we know, of course, he has to leave him alive because of episode 4. But the methodology, like the
why he does it,
why that to me doesn't really make sense.
Part of Obi-Wan's journey in this show, his arc, whether you like it or not, is absolving himself of the guilt of killing Anakin and making him turn to the dark side. You know, look, it was something that was his fault. You know. He may reminisce and feel sad about it in A New Hope, but it's a hopeful Obi-Wan there that's, you know, that thinks he can help Luke, and we're kind of part of that is Obi-Wan first of all overcoming his fear of Vader that he's got, and then kind of realizing that really Anakin's done this to himself and Anakin is dead. Do you know what I mean? Like the way, from his point of view, his friend is now dead. He talks about him in the past tense after that. And this is just Darth that's left, you know, a Sith Lord that he's got absolutely no care and time for. And I think, you know, it's subtle that he just disregards him that way. I mean, killing him right there and then is not going to solve all the problems in the galaxy. It's just not. And I think Obi-Wan's wise to that, you know. So that'd be my point of view.
That's what I think they wanted you to think. But again, I'll point to the bad writing for this. One, Obi-Wan doesn't know who he knows something about the Force and Tatooine and Luke. So Vader's still a threat to Luke no matter what. Like I said, it's I know Vader has to live. It's why why and how the fight breaks up. And number two, Vader was very well aware, maybe not of who the prisoner is at this moment, but Vader was very well aware that Obi-Wan was chasing after someone that the Inquisitors captured. It wouldn't be that hard to check records, ask. I mean, the Grand Inquisitor's not gonna, protect Reva's behaviors. So now Vader would know that, hey, Obi-Wan, this was really freaking important. This girl Leia, and that goes back to why it was dangerous to do Leia the way that they do.
What's he going to do about it? Because he can't take action at this point.
I know they can't, because they wrote themselves into a really shitty corner.
Saying that politically, right? Because Senator Organa is an Imperial senator, and to all intents and purposes, he's following the Imperial line, and Alderaan.
But it still goes to the writing.
Doesn't have the Death Star yet.
It goes to the writing of Vader would have wanted to see why she was so important, and I guarantee you, if he found out who she was, him and the Emperor would have acted on it. Again, it goes to the writing.
But and surely is that not why the Emperor scene's there in the end, though, where the Emperor's basically saying, "Stop obsessing over Obi-Wan. Stop obsessing over doing what I'm telling you to do, because it's not important." So Vader's making a conscious kind of decision at that point that he needs to, do what his master wants.
It's such wonderful writing to try to bookend your changes that way. Kind of like when Obi-Wan tells Leia, "Now remember, don't tell anybody about us meeting." And that way, now you can say, "Oh, that's why she doesn't grieve him when he dies on the Death Star. That's why she doesn't try to communicate or react in any way. She was keeping the secret, even after obviously being rescued by some rebels and realizing that they're trustworthy and that this guy's torn up over the death of it's shitty writing, and that's why it got a C- from me, because even them trying to book in that stuff, none of it logically follows into a new Hope. It doesn't.
Well, with Leia's character, I mean, she never really grieves over anyone. Even like when Han dies, she doesn't go console Chewie. She goes to Rey, and the only person that she ever console or I guess grieves over is when Ben, or Kylo Ren dies or whatever stuff like that. And but I mean, that's not Leia's character.
It's because she wasn't written to grieve him, because she didn't know him. Like I said, this is a crappy way to try to say she was just protecting the secret. Well, but protecting it from who at that point? It doesn't make sense. This goes back to the same point that you had from episode 1 or 2 onwards, though, that Mike and I felt differently about. That it does bend the canon that Leia knew Obi-Wan, but really it all goes back to that. If you can accept that, and that, it does affect how you look at sort of A New Hope differently. There's 100%, and is it perfect? No, but bookending it isn't really. It's not as if they're doing it bookending it by trying to kind of explain it away suddenly at that last minute. I mean, I think that's what it sounded like to me. She's keeping the secret
before, and that's we why. Either accept that or we don't. I think it just makes sense that why would she be blabbing about? Oh yeah, remember when I got rescued by Obi-Wan Kenobi and telling all our pals about it? I mean, they didn't even need to say it to me, to be honest.
Because it was never supposed to happen.
I know, but once you've accepted it, it is slightly different.
Why should we accept shitty retcons, man? Why accept shitty retcon?
Because
that's what I want to know.
Some of the scenes between Leia and Obi-Wan were really good. It really added a lot to that linkage between the prequels and the old trilogy that wasn't really there before the way the prequels ended. We didn't get that sort of sense. I mean, there's the whole line that, in Return of the Jedi that doesn't make it, and at least they didn't try to resolve that, which was done by, when George Lucas was still in charge, and done by the prequels anyway, where Leia thinks she remembers her mother or remembers images of her mother. I almost expected Obi-Wan to pull out a picture of
or do something like that and give her some visions or whatever,
and give her a vision of her mum or something like that, just so that they could explain that away. And then I would have kind of been like, in two minds, did they just fix that plot hole, or did they just make it worse? I don't know, because I think the Leia in Return of the Jedi wouldn't say, "Oh, just visions." Really, she would say, "Well, actually, when I met Obi-Wan, he showed me this vision." You know what I mean?
And again, that goes to even George Lucas's awful retcons and canon destroying efforts of writing in
I
the
know,
prequels.
but I guess that's what Star Wars has kind of always been. That always has been. You will have to reevaluate what you thought you knew sometimes. The way the Force works, I had in my head a canon of how the Force and the dark side works by what I saw and analysed from the movies, and then the prequels, you'd add in that and change it, and then the sequel trilogy would change it up again, and you start to get a bit muddled of kind of what your original interpretation was. So, you either say, right, I just hate that. Anything that has any kind of contradiction at all to the OT, I'm just not going to accept at all on any level, or you only call it the really, really bad ones, and you can accept it where it sometimes does happen. And I think in this case, it wasn't as bad as for example, that Leia scene in Return of the Jedi from the prequels.
Nothing's ever going to be as bad as midichlorians or midichlorians, whatever.
Yeah,
that's
awful.
That was the worst decision Lucas
ever
made
I get
to
why
explain.
It was a way.
I get it too, but
why is Anakin stronger than everybody else? How did they know that? And they thought, we'll use this to explain it.
And remember, for a while there in the mid to late 80s, the Clone Wars was originally like Jedi's being cloned and fighting against each other and stuff, and Palpatine, or the dark side using that, and then all of a sudden it flipped to being a clone army of just Jango Fett and stuff. And so there was, the internet wasn't around back then.
Allegedly, you'd say. I don't think we can certainly say for definite exactly what it was, unless there's quotes that come from. There's things he apparently told people about, but who knows?
It feels a lot like Star Wars now, and not just after this show, but for a while, really just. It feels like comic books now, where literally the canon is so muddled from certain points of view that it's like, well, how did Captain America get his start? How did Iron Man get his start? How did Batman get his start? Well, which continuity? And all of that's frustrating to me. That's what, especially. Go ahead.
That's what Star Wars has been since 1999. Really, that's what it is now. It's not. We looked at those originals as classics. People talk about them as some of the best movies ever made. They meant so much to people. They were, to me, a work of art as well as being just fun. And they weren't perfect, but the second one arguably was almost perfect, I would say. And they were on a higher level than all the other franchises. Star Wars was a level above. It isn't that, and it hasn't been that for a while. It's just a normal geeky franchise now. Do you know what I mean? And like all of them that do retcons and change things and have different adaptations, that's just what we're going to have to accept it as going forward. And it's a case of taking the good with the bad, for me anyway.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's just also disappointing, and that's worse than it just being a bomb. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of like my biggest gripe for this episode was only really the breakup of the fight. I felt it was illogical. I know what they wanted to do with it. I don't agree that it was the best, but what do you want to talk about this episode? Spoilerish, Mike?
I don't know, on something similar on your take on it. I think that the Inquisitors were underused. I would have liked to seen maybe the Grand Inquisitors, start combat, against Kenobi and then have Vader come in. But that was just me. No, I mean
I definitely agree that I would have liked to. So sorry to jump in. I would have liked to have seen Kenobi fight an Inquisitor at some point.
Yeah,
defeat them 100%.
Yeah, I think it was just underused. Like the fifth brother, having Sung Kang in there, it was very underused. No, but kind of going over the episode, the lightsaber battle between Vader and Kenobi pretty much gives us that's the kind of what I envisioned that battle being. Now how it broke up and everything, but the way that those two, you know, went at each other. Now, yeah, I mean, Vader's spinning around and stuff. It's Vader, you know, it's choreographing that is a little bit is a little bit of a challenge. But no, the seeing Kenobi go into the so-and-so pose and stuff, and kind of the callback to that, but then how they are able to use it, like the Force, and use the planet against each other. Like those were the you know, two juggernauts going at each other.
It's what we wanted in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes. You know, it could have gone better, I think, with Revenge of the Sith if they went even that further, you know, route. No, I just the Reva arc at the end was interesting. You know, it was kind of like, you know, tying it all together back to, you know, making the choice. Do you go down that path and, you know, for revenge, or do you know, it's just weird how it ended and how she just kind of now is on her own, you know. I don't know, maybe if that's for another story to tell. But yeah, it's
yeah.
I know that there was not necessarily the plot hole or whatever, but like having Luke be unconscious while you know, seeing Reva with her lightsaber and stuff was, you know, a conscious decision, so that he didn't know what a lightsaber looked like, you know. Yeah. So yeah, no.
Also, does he ever? Why did he never question why someone would come after him? It was It was a weird thing to have her get that close and involved.
Well, they
with him.
told him it was
that's what
Raiders and stuff like
that. Yeah, that's what they
Yeah.
told him, but it's still one of those.
But he definitely sees her while he's on the cliff,
Yeah,
like while he's like hiding her.
He's an inquisitive
That's
boy, so like I said, it's a dangerous thing. It's not the worst thing they did in the series, but it wasn't the best decision.
It was good. The one thing that, like, I was interested in is and this is just me being nitpicking, kind of like with you guys, is the Vader ship, the Tidarian shuttle. Why did they use his custom tie? Because in Rebels and stuff, they had that, you know, Vader used his custom tie as his ship and stuff.
His
so
advanced
it was just
X1.
interesting. Yeah.
I just want to know why Disney won't allow them to use the TIE fighters on Star Destroyers to chase down their quarry. Like, they don't chase the big cruiser or the little drop ship. They're just firing from distance, and the littler ships, which generally in Star Wars are faster than the big ships. Generally, not all the time. That's why Lucas was at least smart enough to put the Falcon in the asteroid field for that chase. I
liked the way like the music was the same as the asteroid chase to begin, and the music was. But like you say, it would have been more like the asteroid chase if they had some ties as well. You know.
I mean, look, it goes back to Disney not knowing how to do chases from The Last Jedi. I mean, Cam, you and I have said the answer was from Battlestar 33. That episode is the answer for the chase in The Last Jedi. And here I'm literally just like, dude, you guys have TIE fighters on that ship. Send them after that thing. If your big ship can't reach it, the small ones can. And that was frustrating. But anyways, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I thought that there was an opportunity there to kind of harken back to Revenge of the Sith, or at least, you know, Clone Wars, like, of Vader being in his TIE fighter, and Kenobi being in a crew, like a starship, and they're chasing after each other, and they're kind of, you know, mimicking each other, then land on the planet, just, you know, a little quick, like, hey, you know, because it is Star Wars, you know, a little star fighter action there and stuff, but it's just like that. Like I said, I think that Disney played it really safe. They're trying to, you know, appease a general audience and stuff like that, not get too hardcore into, you know, the canon there and stuff, or just those little flashbacks. Because I get, like, I know that with like Cad Bane and Book of Boba Fett, it was for the hardcore Star Wars fans. It was a great moment there to see Cad Bane in live action. For people who are just general fans, are like, who the hell is this guy type deal. So, you know, but yeah, no, I just think that there was just a couple things I would have done differently, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But the lightsaber battle between Kenobi and Vader, that to me, I'll watch that probably.
Yeah, I'd like to watch the duel over again.
A couple over again and stuff like that, and just appreciate that little nods here and there.
Yeah. What do you think, Cam? Or what other thoughts do you have about stuff? Good or bad?
I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think the show needed more of. I mean, I loved the Vader fight. I thought it was great. I loved the way once his mask was broken. It kind of looks like that's how he got that scar on the top of his head. He's got in
Lucas forgot to give it to him in Sith.
So kind of fixed that, a little fix. But I love the way that Hayden actually portrayed it. There was a menace to him when he said, I did, and it's almost like you can see the eye color change, the darkness in him, and the light kind of changes. That was shot really well, and the way that the voice changed for being kind of Hayden's to sometimes James Earl Jones and kind of back.
They took that from Rebels.
I mean, but
when Ahsoka faced
better than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it worked 100% better.
So when you see that done in live action, I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been done before, but it worked. And that was really, really cool. I kind of liked Owen and Beru. I thought Beru was a bit kick-ass. Like, she's never done anything apart from pour milk out before her in the entire series. To see her like, let's get the guns out and protect her home. Owen, bring me my shotgun. That girl's she's gonna get two in there.
Just like Star Wars, though, everybody's a shitty shot, though. Point blank range right there. And they're setting up high the shot
and late laser blasts. I mean, they're pure energy, so they're not going to be affected. Contrary to showing arcing lasers in outer space in The Last Jedi. God, Rian Johnson, you suck at ballistics and military stuff. Anyways, these things wouldn't be affected by weather. Like, you got to account for bullet rise and fall, wind direction and speed when you're dealing with physical projectiles. But man.
Maybe that's easier. Maybe it's the fact that they are so fast that they, maybe the planet. Wait a minute. Maybe the Star Wars planets spin faster, but people are just more used to it because they're bigger, and therefore the Coriolis effect is worse because the laser shoots straight so far. It's light, so it would go at light speed, presumably. That it's so quick that the target's already moved by the time you shoot.
I wish I had the time and wherewithal to track down these moments in podcasts, because that'd be a perfect time to put someone doing gymnastics and just have the phrase mental gymnastics on screen.
I'm only joking.
Oh, I know, but people have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to make up for some things in Marvel and Star Wars these days.
So yeah, there was a lot of good in this episode, but when I look back at the series as a whole, for example, Reva's arc, which Mike talked about, I just didn't buy into it enough because they didn't give me enough early on with Reva. She was just this force on a mission. You kind of got this feeling that there was more to it. But I actually think they should have introduced her story from our point of view as the audience much earlier. You could still have Kenobi find out at the same time as he did, and his reaction to it can be genuine, but we as the audience know that actually, this is somebody more interested in killing Darth Vader than she is actually catching Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that would really help to build her character up more, so that when she gets her arc. Now, they could go into all that more in a Reva-focused series. I think they could tell a story with that character, and I may like her better in a series where she is the main character. But I think she's just lost with all the big players that are in this. It's always going to be about Obi-Wan, Vader, Leia. This is who it's going to be about when you put those people in. And she kind of just gets lost as a main character. Giving her more to do, more interaction with the other Inquisitors. Like Mike said, we kind of never get to see Obi-Wan fight an Inquisitor, which is a shame, because I want to see at some point that he's a skill level above them as
Right.
well, and that they're not good enough to kind of go against somebody that was a former Jedi Master after he's kind of got his mojo back, let's say. You could have Sun Kang come in and there could have been some reason why Obi-Wan doesn't kill him, so that he's still there, for canon purposes later on, or the Grand Inquisitor, if you like, would maybe even have been better. Little things like that would have helped sell this whole series more for me. I also think Hayden was underused ultimately.
Yep.
If you're going to bring him back, the flashbacks were kind of cool, apart from the de-aging being maybe a slight bit funky, but I liked them. But I think, again, it could have been resolved by doing more with it. I'll give you this, for an example. At the beginning of this show, we see an Obi-Wan who's kind of broken and who believes that he's left his friend to die. What about Obi-Wan's seeing Anakin and speaking to him, almost but not a Force ghost because there'd be no blue tint to it, but clearly it's a vision in his head, yeah, and almost that's there. When he has these quiet moments where he's speaking to Anakin in his head, and it could even be Anakin looking like he does now, because in Obi-Wan's head, we know it's not real. It's not a Force vision of something that's really happened. Yeah. It's in his own head and what he's imagining. So it could just be him as what Anakin would look like at that age. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely fine. And then up to the point where he discovers that Vader is alive and is Anakin, and then it kind of stops at that point, and that's where his mind kind of starts focusing in a different way from that point on. That would have got much more use out of Hayden for me and been a lot cooler. So lots of little missed opportunities, little problems in the writing that they didn't resolve ultimately, which we've spoke about, especially at the end of episode 3, which just... But everything else that we see in the show just does not make any sense. I also, by the way, thought of a much better way of doing that, because I couldn't think of it. At first, we had said that the way they should have done it is have it be Vader's plan. But that doesn't work with this episode, because when Vader has...
the next episodes.
No, because when Vader chooses, the target
Obi-Wan
he's going
over,
for, it's Obi-Wan, So I was trying... I think, what's another way that they could do that? And I thought about it, why not just have he puts out the fire and he walks over with all the sort of stormtroopers, and then Tala shoots the thing and reactivates the flame, so it actually bursts up while Vader and the stormtroopers are inside it. They're all like, ah! And Vader's cloak catches fire.
Vader out.
It would freak them out a little bit, it would distract them. Meanwhile, the loader starts pulling away. Vader steps out the other end, do you know what I mean, or something like that, puts out the flames, and by that point they're away on a speeder bike, or something like that she had sitting by. That's all it needed, it fixed that moment, and without that, it's like a big gaping plot hole for me, for sure. That definitely lowers the kind of the score for the overall series.
Yeah, that whole thing. I mean, Shockey, now having seen the whole series, I have to ask you about that as well. In episode 3, everyone was like, Vader let him get away, so that way he could face the real Kenobi. But then in episodes 4 and 5, he's pissed whenever Vader escapes. There's never an inclination that he just let him get away. So It really is. In episode 3, he's like, oh, damn, there's fire there. Even though I can rip a starship from the sky and crash a mountain down on people. Is that not just the epitome of, hey, Janet, lazy writing? And that's a Breaking Geek radio reference. Apparently, Janet hates it to say something is lazy writing, but that right there, that I don't even know if it's lazy. That's just bad.
Well, do you know what it is? It's because if somebody like me can think, right, okay, I've got a problem to solve in 3 minutes. It took me 3 minutes exactly from when I typed on our kind of Discord chat. That our previous explanation for this doesn't work now. I'd need to think of something else. 3 minutes later, I had that idea. Now that's surely, I'm not a professional writer. If I can come up with that idea so quickly, for me, the whole thing needed another pass at the script stage. Needed somebody to sit and go through it and say, oh, you got a problem here. Why not just connect the dots, fix a few things, and also a good director. And I'm not wanting to kind of demean Deborah Chow, because maybe this is not where her experience is lacking, possibly, right? the composition of the shots that she put in place, I didn't have any issue with. Like the way that Duel was shot at the end, the Vader shots, the voice, that's all good direction. But what I think this series needed is a director that sees something when it's filming and goes, okay, this doesn't work on the screen like it worked on paper. So we need to just change those little things around about while you're shooting. Something like Spielberg would pick that up and the script would just get modified slightly. Whether you've got the writers on hand to say, right, this doesn't work, rewrite this, make it better. And it felt like that's what was missing from Obi-Wan Kenobi for me. Just that experienced person to kind of pull all that together and fix all the little problems.
I agree. Kind of cut you off there, Mike. What do you think about seeing that?
Yeah, now that the whole series is like complete and stuff, that scene right there is lazy writing or just hey, we need a quick way to get him out of here. What can we do? Well, let's bring fire back into it and stuff. And so, it doesn't make sense.
That's what Joby Harold or Chow will say, that when he saw the fire, even though he lit fire, the fire made him. There's no way to write around it the way they filmed
him in the fire.
Like Cam said, but
believe it.
Not the way they wrote it.
Not when we
and
know he
filmed
can
it.
just calmly put it out at any point with the Force, because he just did it 2 minutes before that. That's the problem. And it's lazy writing. You're right.
Yeah, my last little prompt. Hayden Christensen. A lot of people really wanted to see him. I know, and I know some will not admit it, but even most people can see that. People project Clone Wars Anakin onto prequel Anakin. They project all of that onto Hayden, and that's not the case. We got Hayden in episodes 2 and 3, and now this. And one of my biggest questions going into the series, before we knew how little or how much he would be in it, is, what about his acting? Because there's nothing I've ever seen him in where he was a good actor, and here it was the exact same performance as the prequels.
What specifically are you referring to? The flashback.
But both the flashback and even in the this final episode,
when the broken mask there.
Yeah, even there,
I thought that was quite good. I thought he got
his and again, and that's what I was going to ask you guys, is if he was trying to make sure he maintained, because we're not really getting any moments for him to show off anything grand. His voice is overlaid with a bunch of computer stuff, so you can't always, I'm not knocking it. I'm asking you guys, everything he did sounded very much just like the prequels. Do you think that was him just trying to mask that, or do you think that's really just him?
Yeah, I thought it sounded more how Darth Vader talks now.
Yeah.
They got stuff over his voice, yeah.
But the way that he uses the words is different from that kind of free talk. Vader, that's one of the things that Vader doesn't really talk like Anakin Skywalker. It would be a bit strange to have a character kind of talk the way Darth Vader talks and not be like that menacing type of character, weirdly. But I guess that's the dark side for you. But he talked more like a villain rather than Anakin, whereas in Revenge of the Sith, it kind of felt weird when he was like, you underestimate my powers. Yeah, I mean, it didn't.
Don't make me destroy you.
Don't make me destroy you, master.
Bad writing.
No, but that's not bad writing.
Well, I don't think Anakin is that character.
I'm not maybe doing.
The lines are
the lines are badly.
That's what I'm saying, and I wasn't talking about the writing here. I was just talking about his
delivery. Yeah, ultimately, I think he did a better job, and I think I'm glad to see him back. I don't think it was a redemption for him because he really wasn't in it enough, and I would like to see him challenge it more, push that more, and go into it, because this was the last chance you've got to do that. Seeing more of Hayden, and they talked about like a Darth Vader series, and I wrote about this the other day. I would love to see a Darth Vader series done right, but it really doesn't need Hayden Christensen in any way whatsoever for a Darth Vader series, apart from a couple of scenes when he's in and out of back to tank. That's it.
So we're gonna get another shot with Hayden Christensen in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're gonna see more
Hayden.
like Hayden as a Force ghost.
Well, that's the only
and so-
one that I would like to see, because see if it's all flashbacks to something to do with time travel and Vader and all that.
All right. Well, we're not gonna. That's for another podcast episode. Yeah. See, now you just. But so to go back to our point, there is that I agree. I think that Hayden was underutilized in this series, especially for this being built up for 2 years and having him come back after all this time and all the his own personal arc, from doing the prequels to the amount of animosity that was towards him early on from certain Star Wars fans, and then all of a sudden this like animosity turns into love for him, and now he's coming to Star Wars celebrations and taking pictures and signing autographs, and it feels like his journey has come full circle. And so it would have been nice to see more of him in there, even if it was him in his Vader design or whatever, in his meditation chamber, and with the helmet off and seeing him talk that way. But I think that, to your point, is with the last episode and seeing him as Vader, or the helmet scene, it parallels to the episode in Rebels when Ahsoka confronts Vader, and you see there's that slight moment when she actually gets him on the helmet as well and sees his eyes, and he goes, you hear, I can't think of the actor's name who voiced him in the Clone Wars, you hear his voice and it's very calm, and then you see the eyes go from to
Matt Lanter, is it not?
I think so, yeah. It's Matt
I'm trying
something.
to look it up.
Matt something, but you hear his voice and you see the eyes are his normal colors.
Lanter, yep.
Matt Lanter, yep. And it's very calm. It's very he's saying Ahsoka, and then then it goes into now. Well, then you will die, and in that transition from his voice back to James Earl Jones' voice. No, you don't hear that villainous type thing. The only thing that you really get is the voice changeover, and then his eyes go back to that yellow aspect of being the Sith. So I think that was smart for them to do, kind of parallel that, because then that would have, that gives you the kind of idea that Anakin and Vader are two different people. They're not the same. And when he says Vader, I killed him, it's almost like the Harvey Dent Two-Face, type persona. Two-Face killed Harvey Dent himself. So I'm going there. I didn't need a ton more flashbacks. It didn't need to be Clone Wars. I'm kind of happy now after all this and all the speculation. We didn't get it. It kind of works. It doesn't work, but I think the scene, the Jedi Temple scene, could have done a little bit more. I know that killing younglings and stuff is not the best thing Disney wants going on right now and stuff. But there's either Kenobi, having dreams and stuff like that, and just the interaction between the two. I think that was a big time missed opportunity. You only had really one scene where Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are together, and it's that flashback scene of the the Jedi training and stuff. That's it. And
and it is a missed opportunity, because is there any of the three of us that think it would be a good idea to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 and have Vader and Obi-Wan meet again?
Not Vader,
not meet again,
Anakin, but some sort of. But I don't even think you need. They did that already with Yoda, and I don't see another 6 episodes from that. Because he's confronted his demons, like a Vader and stuff, and dealing with that. What are you gonna do there?
Well, so
you could have him have to go to the Sith homeworlds, like Yoda had to, I suppose. But
yeah,
I guess
that's what I was gonna say.
Thing, but it could be that he starts doing something for Qui-Gon and gets caught up in something else, though. Something else while he's doing his training. Yeah.
The only problem is that now he's got a shorter window now, because now
Yeah.
In Rebels, you have the episode where Maul is after him. He finds him, using Ezra on Tatooine, and he's in. And Kenobi has kind of become old man Kenobi, and the only thing you could possibly do is something in that little window there is kind of like
it would need to be something soon. I think just not too long after. The period that we're set now. Yeah, not
that's
too long.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is we did get Qui-Gon there at the end, Mr.
Liam Neeson.
Thank you. Liam Neeson showed up, which was great. Sounded good, looked good. Everything everyone expected.
I would only come back for a movie.
I would only do for the movie.
Liam Neeson.
They obviously leave it open to explore more Reva, and they leave it open to show more Kenobi. And you, Shockey, were one of the ones to originally point out the whole trials and stuff of learning how to become a Force ghost, and now you're saying you don't necessarily want that?
Oh, I would listen. I would take it. It's just that I think the way that this series ended, So one of the trials is facing, facing the fear of what you've lost, and so for Kenobi, the thing that he lost was Anakin, and stuff, and that seems like that's taken care of. He's at peace now with that. Like he knows.
Yep.
So the only thing I can think
else?
of is Satine, is his love that he left behind and stuff. Like, do you really, if you're going down that path, then you got to be committed to those things that happen in the Clone Wars animated series and stuff, and do you really want to see all that? And so, listen, I would take it if Ewan McGregor signed on and go for it. Now, what I would say is, you need Dave Filoni to run that show. Not just anybody, because if you're going into the specifics of the Force, or the specifics of like kind of the those type of parts of Kenobi's life, you need somebody who knows Star Wars inside and out, knows the timeline very well, because then we keep on.
And Filoni's helped by Lucas's permission or knowledge, helped define what the Force is in the canon as well.
You can't have Pablo take over, because Pablo's horrible with it. I have better knowledge of Star Wars than Pablo.
Canon is whatever it needs
no,
to
hell
be. It's
no.
whatever direction I fall.
Listen, I get I understand you, Kyle, and having your issues with it and stuff with the series and keeping changing canon here and stuff, or but I'm okay with bending it and stuff. But the way that Pablo just says, "No, we can do whatever we want," it's you do that, you're gonna lose fans. So.
Yeah. So the Emperor, we saw him. What's his name? McDermott. Yeah, Papa Palpatine popped up, and it looked good. Overall, the eyes. I think they were trying to make him look a little younger, maybe, or something. But the eyes were off, and I'm not sure if that's Ian's face having changed or.
He looked more OT than he has in anything else. But that part of being a hologram as well, kind of thing, helps with that. I think absolutely.
And there's another opportunity in a few months for him to show up again, which with Andor, which most of us have figured wouldn't be a bad thing. Although I did say, and I still agree, I didn't really care to see him, even though there's no bad writing. He exists. He's alive. It's just, man, you guys really just screwed up with Rise of Skywalker and bringing him back.
That was JJ.
I just don't want to see it.
I don't mind seeing him when he was
in the correct time
period. Supposed to in this time period.
I agree.
Especially when Vader's involved. I mean, he's going to be communicating with Vader all the time.
I'm not against it. I'm just saying that it sucks because Rise ruined it to where you don't want it. Like, even when it makes sense and it's good and it's fine, you're just like, I don't want it because that it just comes somehow. Palpatine returns from nowhere.
Here's what I didn't understand with this, though, is that if the Inquisitors and Vader and stuff with Palpatine are all out there to find like the goal is to find force sensitive users and basically kill them or convert them into more Inquisitors and stuff like that. Wouldn't Obi-Wan Kenobi though be the one you want to go after? I didn't understand Palpatine in that aspect of it. Is like, you know, like Order 66 to me is the worst hit job in the world, because the more it keeps coming out, is like the more survivors there are than people dead. It seems like the Jedi who died in Order 66 like were horrible Jedi, or like,
yeah.
You know,
I think what you've got to remember,
the lowest
I
of the
think
Jedi.
Palpatine's aware that the dark side is engulfed the galaxy at the moment, and how much power he has, and he doesn't see any real threats, and he doesn't see Obi-Wan as a threat because Obi-Wan isn't really a threat to him. Obi-Wan's dead.
I don't know. After this, you see that if I'm Emperor Palpatine and I see that my apprentice got his ass kicked twice by
the same guy.
I might be getting on a plane and finding out where the hell this guy is.
And Palps lost his first apprentice to Obi-Wan as well. You know,
yeah,
I mean, come on. Or not his first, but Maul.
You know, they call him Obi-Wan Sith killer for nothing in the fandom. Do you know what I mean? That guy likes to kill Sith.
So maybe it's Palpatine just saying, let's leave this guy alone, dude. It's like, I'm 0 for 3 with him, so let's just let him go.
I don't know for certain, but I had read in some of the new books and some of the new novels, they've made Palpatine not the best leader. Like he's got additional people that are covering his ass, and I don't really necessarily like that. I don't know, the EU Empire was feared, they were ruthless, they were bad guys. I mean, you had sexism and racism, and they were awful beings, and they weren't dumb. I mean, you think of Thrawn, you think of Isurge, you think of Dala, you think of Paleon,
these are all people that were ultimately chosen by Palpatine.
Jag Fell, like so many of
a good
them,
leader chooses the right people to get what they want, and
like Thrawn
seems to have the right people. Sometimes
exactly.
People,
so he can't
do what he wants.
So you can't be that awful of a leader and have things run as relatively smoothly within the empire until the rebellion starts making cracks in it. I don't know, and I haven't read them, so I don't know full context.
I would guess just that Palpatine, the way he sees it, is the Jedi are fleeing, they're hiding, they keep hiding somewhere else. Eventually, they keep catching remnants and drags of them, and they're not really organized in any way, and none of them are powerful enough to come against him and Vader anyway. So you know what are they going to do? And I think that works because how Luke Skywalker changes that for him. Once he knows, you know, he feels there's a change in the Force ultimately that is strong enough that Palpatine feels it once Luke starts kind of properly training in the Force. He feels it from afar, even though Vader hasn't told him about Luke at this point, you know, that he's actually coming to Vader with the information. And I think that's why he dings on Palpatine's threat meter, whereas Obi-Wan doesn't. You know, I think for whatever reason. You're
leaving his teacher, or whatever, you know, his Jedi Master alive. His Padawan is alive, and that, you know, gets exposed in Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that. I mean, if I'm Emperor Palpatine, I'm doing everything I can to go after those two. I'm sending my entire fleet. I'm pinning them down on Tatooine, and I'm using the Death Star to blow them up. Like, you know, to just say, you know, let him go. What's your focus on, me or him? You know,
what they should have done was have something where when Obi-Wan leaves the planet, it just needed a few extra scenes. The Star Destroyers like give chase, and like they think like he goes inside something, they think they've blew it up, Obi-Wan's hiding, you know, gets away, you know, something like that where he tricks them, and there's that conceivable where Vader's like, did he die or did he leave?
What would have been really badass, and now you mention that, is like have Vader and Kenobi fighting on that planet, and then all of a sudden the Death Star just shows up out of hyperdrive. Vader runs to his starfighter, gets out of there, and they, you know, shoot at it, and you see Kenobi racing away and thinking that, you know, they got him and stuff. That would have been badass.
I mean, but the Death Star's not built by this point yet, because this is before Rogue
But
One.
didn't they
so
have
we
the
know
laser?
that-
No, but then, or what was it? The Canon.
You're
They hadn't
thinking
tested it
You're thinking
at all.
EU, aren't
And
Oh,
Rogue
yeah.
One, they've talked about like how they go through testing, and remember they need to get what's his name back when
Brennan.
Galen
Jin's
Erso.
just young to
Galen
kind of
Erso, yeah.
finish it off, and Jin would be, I don't know.
All right, well
maybe
then blow it up
closer
with a
in
bunch of
age to-
Star Destroyers and stuff like that. Have a bunch of Star Destroyers.
She'd be closer
Shooting
Orbital
to
down.
what Leia
Orbital
is at this
bombardment.
point, so she'd just be a little girl kind of still at that
TIE
point, I'm
bombers
guessing,
and
so.
stuff.
Yeah. Or orbital
But you know,
bombardment.
there's something they could have done which might make them doubt whether, and we see a last final bit of cunning from Obi-Wan to get away or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That would have worked. And I like, it's a kind of Star Wars cliche. You know, somebody thinks they're blown up and they sneak away somewhere else. But sometimes those cliches work because you're dealing with this big galaxy and you can't search a whole galaxy and you can never know for certain, you know. So
Yeah.
something like that where Vader looks for a minute and then just kind of walks away, no knowing whether he's survived or not. And then you could have the Emperor saying, Vader saying, like, what if he's still alive? We need to keep hunting. And then the Emperor saying, no, we're going to focus on what needs to be focused on next, which is not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I guess.
Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and leave it there, guys, for this review, and we're be back on our regular news coverage starting next week. Probably go back to Fridays for release of the episode, but we'll see what shakes loose. You guys can keep up to date with this show and more, as well as interviews, news pieces, opinions, reviews, interviews with celebrities, all at lrmonline.com. All of the podcasts are also available there here on the right hand side, and each one gets a little news story as they go right up as they go up. Follow us on your favorite podcast apps, Google, Spotify, Apple, any of those great shows like Anime Versal Reviews podcast. We've got one episode of Spy Family left next week, and then we've got Marvel Multiverse Mayhem doing Miss Marvel, which has been surprisingly good. Have either of you guys seen Miss Marvel?
Not yet.
Yeah, I've watched 2.5 episodes. I haven't finished watching the one today yet.
I'm not calling it great, but it's better than what you thought, right?
It's all right. It's watchable.
Yeah.
It's kind of turn your brain off. Watchable stuff, I would say.
It's I wouldn't say I'd. Yeah, it's better than I thought. It's very very Homecoming-ish, Spider-Man Homecoming-ish.
Yeah.
It has that same feel to it. And then Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. They got a bunch of moving pieces, so I don't know how many will be on this week, but they do weekly news and movie reviews usually every week. They got a movie or two to talk about. All of those go up on our YouTube channel. Please hit the red subscribe button, and I also do the genre shot trailer reactions on the YouTube channel. So yeah, Shockey, you want to say anything?
Let's see what we got. Andor next, and so let's get ready for that one. I think we're gonna enjoy that one more.
I hope
than this
so.
one, because we don't have to
so.
worry about canon. We don't have to worry about. It's just, it's
Well,
a new
not
story.
Too much, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's why I enjoy things like the Bad Batch a little bit more and stuff now. So because we're going in a different direction. It's kind of like Kyle said. Let's go on to some new stories and get out of the whole Skywalker timeline era. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Cam, anything you want to put out?
No, I'm good. I'm all good.
All right, then, guys, you know the deal. We'll talk to you next week, and may the Force be with you.